All right, so we are 2 minutes after 12 o'clock. So to be respectful of everybody's time, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to our first Lunch and Learn of 2024. We wanted to take this opportunity to give you an update on what's going on with St. Mary's Riverkeeper in 2024, a little bit of insight, what's going on with at the board level. So thank you for our board chair, Kim Bednarik, for being here today to talk about that. And then ways that people can engage, including events, legislative priorities, and our fundraising events that we have scheduled for this year. So thank you so much for being here. This will be recorded and put on our website once I get through that all and it all gets downloaded. So feel free to share it with your friends, just so they know what's going on with Riverkeeper this year. So just to give you some background, St. Mary's Riverkeeper, as many of you know, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are not a state entity. We are a community engagement citizen action group. Riverkeepers were really given their legs when the Clean Water Act was voted in and approved in the 1970s to provide citizens a voice in the protection of their waterways. And they can band together to form a Riverkeeper to help protect their waterways. So we are funded by concerned citizens such as yourself, engaging in recreational opportunities, advocacy work, and education on why the waterways should be protected. St. Mary's River is 130 miles from the Okefenokee Swamp as the headwaters all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, and it forms the border of Southeast Georgia and Northeast Florida. So we're not just a Riverkeeper, part of the Riverkeeper family under Waterkeeper Alliance, but we also belong to 2 states. So this does provide us an opportunity to have an impact in 2 states for their waterways protection legislation and advocacy work. So we are members of Georgia Water Coalition as well as Waterkeepers Florida. And so just to give you some insight or to overview of what we're going to be talking about today, and specifically the topics, is what's happening in 2024 with St. Mary's Riverkeeper. 2023 was a really busy year. I'm sure many of you engaged in with us with 2023, especially with the mining land use plan that was open for public comment early last year for the Twin Pines Mining Company wanting to put a mine on Trail Ridge within the St. Mary's River watershed. So we have additional legislative priorities this year, as both Florida and Georgia are in legislative session at the same time. So we're following multiple bills, both in the Senate and the House, that could directly impact the St. Mary's River. And then, of course, some ways that y'all can get involved as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim to talk about strategic planning for us this year. This is a big thing, but she's going to give you a little insight, as that is something that the board has decided is important for this year.
Thank you, Emily. So I'm Kim Bednarik. I have the privilege of serving as board chair of the St. Mary's Riverkeeper, and I represent 12 active trustees, as well as 2 ex officio trustees who previously served. We cover the watershed, the 4 counties in the St. Mary's River watershed. And I'll just say that we're especially pleased with Emily Flores as our executive director at Riverkeeper. She's phenomenal, as all of you know. And then we're also grateful for your engagement as members and active participants in all the work of the St. Mary's Riverkeeper. So Emily asked me to share a little bit about what's happening at the board level heading into 2024. The St. Mary's Riverkeeper was founded in 2016. And so we're going into our 7th year, I think, Emily. Yes. Serving the communities that surround the St. Mary's River. And we really looked, we're very reflective in 2023, had a lot of success. Emily is our very first executive director, official executive director. She's heading into her 3rd year. So when we came out of 2023 and reflecting on all of Emily's success and the success of our organization, we really wanted to do a deep dive into who we are moving forward and ensure that we were delivering on our mission and delivering authentically on our purpose, and engaging all of you in the watershed, our members and citizens around the St. Mary's River. So we've contracted with Janet Ertractor to enter into a comprehensive strategic planning process to guide the future of the St. Mary's Riverkeeper. And really, one of the most important pieces of the process is going to be your engagement. The work that Jana is going to do with the Board of Trustees and with Emily is we're going to gather in 3 deep dive sessions over the next 3 to 4 months. And we're really going to look at the feedback that we receive from you, our members, and our constituents about our mission, about our vision, and about our purpose. So what Emily has put up here, the QR code, would take you to a community survey that we're hoping that all of you complete because we really, really want your feedback. So this is an opportunity for you to tell us what you think about the St. Mary's Riverkeeper, what you want to see us do more of, what you might want to see us do less of. Really, when you enter into the survey, it's going to talk a little bit about what strategic planning is. It's going to guide our organization forward and how we allocate our resources, how Emily dedicates her time. And we want to do that knowing what your priorities are as members of the St. Mary's Riverkeeper. And so we really hope that you share this, you fill out this QR code, you go to the QR code, you fill out the survey, and that you share the survey with your friends and fellow members of the watershed. We want to hear about what you think are the threats to the river, what are the opportunities for the river, what are the strengths of our Riverkeeper, what are some areas where we could improve. And then anything else you want to share with us. We're really open for your feedback and really excited to hear from you. So Emily asked me to join her just to really talk about strategic planning, to let you know as our members why we're going into strategic planning, why your engagement is critical to our long-term success, and then also to sincerely thank you on behalf of the Board of Trustees for investing in our work and our mission, believing in our work and our mission, and working alongside Emily Floor in ensuring that the St. Mary's River is protected into the future. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Emily, and I'll stay on. So if there's any questions along the way, I'll be available.
Great. Thanks, Kim. Yeah, so you can just scan that QR code. It'll also be on the very last slide as well as we get through the Q&As. And on that note, if you do have a question during the presentation, please put it in the Q&A portion at the bottom. So you can just click on that and fill in your question, and we'll get to them as we can. So probably closer to the end, and I'll read out the questions and we'll answer them for you. All right, so a lot of the things that we have identified last year that were really impactful were a couple of major overarching topics. So one of them was our education and outreach. So these are just some dates that we wanted to get on your calendars for some cleanups coming up. So we're going into our 26th year, not Riverkeeper led. We're only 7 years old, but the St. Mary's River cleanup has been happening for 26 years. And that is on April 27th. That is a watershed wide cleanup with over 20 sites in all 4 counties of the watershed. Last year, we had 450 volunteers pull 9 tons of trash and debris out of the river and the surrounding tributaries and land. One particular one of interest was a fridge in the trees that we were eyeing for months. And then the water levels got high enough that we could access it. So you never know what you're going to find in the river. But that is April 27th. So please put those on your calendars. It's from 9 to 11, and we will be having our volunteer appreciation afterwards at White Oak Conservation to say thank you for all of your energy and effort to protect the St. Mary's River. And then we have International Coastal Cleanup, which is Saturday, September 21st. We don't have a date or a time for that or a location yet, but it'll be in those newsletters as we get closer to that time. One of the things that we have been working on is a St. Mary's River paddle trail. So we've had a lot of requests on access points for the St. Mary's and distances, and how do we see those beautiful sandy beaches in the upper St. Mary's section. So we've been working with Florida Department of Environmental Protection to get a river trail established. And so we're in that process as we speak. They have generated a story map for us. They've recently sent it to us. So it is now live on our website. So if you go to our website and under the tab recreation, there's an explore your watershed on the drop down menu. And you can click on the story map there and see all of these amazing access points that are on the St. Mary's River. Some are easy to get to at certain times of the year, depending on rainfall, and some are harder. So some you definitely want to check the water level gauges before you head out to make sure that you can actually access the boat launch. So Traders Hill was recently closed for about a month because of all the rainfall we got between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So you just want to make sure that it's accessible before you venture out. Last year, we started our boat tours on the St. Mary's River, and thanks to our sponsors, Okefenokee Adventures, for the use of their swamp boats, which are really perfect on the St. Mary's because you got a lot of down debris in the river, and those boats are meant to kind of take a beating in the swamp. So they're pretty perfect for our river. They're also narrow enough to be able to get a number of people out, but the river can be rather narrow, so you want that smaller vessel so you can also allow other boaters to get by at the same time. But this year, we're actually launching a brand new experiential learning opportunity, which is called the Okie to Ocean Tour. And these are 3 different overnight tours exploring the ecosystems of the watershed. So the first one is in February. It's an overnight paddle trip into the Okefenokee Swamp, camping on Monkey Lake, which is the closest platform to the headwaters of the St. Mary's River. And then in March, we're doing an overnight with the Okie Adventure boats on the St. Mary's. So it's an overnight boat tour on the St. Mary's, which is really lovely. And then in April, we're doing an overnight camping trip with hikes on Cumberland Island National Seashore. So St. Mary's River is bookended by 2 national treasures. And there's a river in between that connects them. So we're really just exploring the St. Mary's River in the watershed as a whole from Okie to Ocean. And then we have our Lunch and Learn webinars. We started these last year during the mining land use plan public comment to get people to understand the impacts of the proposed mine on the St. Mary's River watershed. And so they were really popular. So really getting people to know and appreciate and understand the St. Mary's River became something that was a big initiative for people and of great interest. So we started these. We're now going to be doing them quarterly. So we'll have 4 this year. This is our first one. So the next one we are hoping to have in March or April of time frame. And they're varying topics, conservation, advocacy, science, really just a way of exploring the St. Mary's River and all that it has to offer. And then tabling events and speaking engagements. So this is what, we go to the Right Whale Festival, we go to the Okefenokee Festival. So we're out telling people about what we do, how to get involved, and why people should be concerned for the health of their St. Mary's River. So you may see us out there. So if you do, please stop by and say hi, or better yet, volunteer and table with us. Help us spread the word. Our other big flagship program is our water quality monitoring. So we have a lot going on, and thanks to our dedicated water quality committee that is made up of community members as well as our several of our board of trustees, we identify potential areas of concern when it comes to water quality sampling, because we want to make sure that our waterways are healthy. And thanks to our citizen scientists for going out pretty much monthly to do these samples. So we have a yearly understanding of what the water quality of certain waterways are, because things do change between summer and winter. And if we have multiple years of data, we can compare if a E. coli count spikes in the wintertime, whereas it hasn't in the past. So we really need that long-term scientific understanding of a water body to be able to raise public awareness about potential contamination, and then try to find the source. So we have had, as St. Mary's Riverkeeper, partnered with now two private public partnership opportunities for what's called the 319 grant. And this is funding through the Clean Water Act to provide money to municipalities and state entities to clean up failing septic tanks. So we just finished one up in December of 2022. I always say last year, but now we're in 2024. So I still have to switch my brain on that. We finished it up December 2022, where the 319 grant along Horsepin Creek removed and replaced over 50 failing septic tanks. And it improved the quality of life of the community around it, in the sense that kids could go swimming in the mouth of that creek and not get what they called the summer ick. So now they don't get the summer ick because the E. coli contamination has been cleaned up from leaking septic tanks. And because of those efforts, that Horsepin Creek Improvement Team, which we are a part of, was recently awarded the Clean 13 Act, or the Clean 13 Award, through the Georgia Water Coalition, and will be presented that award in April. It also allowed for the Homeland 319 grant, which just started. So we're replicating that exact thing, trying to find the contamination, the source of the contamination of the septic tanks, to help improve the quality of life for the citizens of the city of Homeland and everybody downstream of them. We also, through our water testing, we help Florida DEP and Georgia DNR identifying impaired water bodies. And so they list these impaired water bodies every few years, to help try to get the local community and elected officials to clean up the waterways. So we work with them to help identify those impaired water bodies. And then St. Mary's Riverkeeper works with the county or the city commissioners to try to find a solution to clean it up, whether it's septic tank remediation. The one that recently happened in Fernandina Beach, which we're hoping will come to fruition, is actually removing a road to allow the waterway to flood and recede naturally, to prevent the contaminations from building up and being blocked and not being able to flush out. So that's what daylighting Escambia Slough is actually removing a street entirely, to help improve the water quality of the city, of that waterway for the city, but also to help with their resiliency initiative. And last summer, in 2023, we launched the water quality campaign. So what we're looking for is E. coli contamination. During warmer months, you're going to have higher levels of E. coli. And we have concerns of E. coli contamination along beach accesses, fishing areas, recreational water bodies. So we launched our water quality campaign to reevaluate how we're testing our coastal water bodies. So we went out, one of my board trustees and I would go out once a month for the months of the summer, and we sampled along select sites, and we would actually send our samples to a certified lab to run the samples for us rather than using our citizen science sampling. And we wanted to check for a different warm-blooded bacteria that can be found in waste, that actually survives in saltier waters. And so we're just kind of test running it this year, found it to be rather successful, identified a new water body that has high bacterial levels. And so we're just going to continue monitoring it and getting that data to the state of Florida, to potentially find a new way of remediating that contamination, identifying the source. And then the last thing is to report water quality issues. So the picture on the bottom left that you see of that brownish color water body, that was sent to me a few weeks ago. And that's a water body in Fort Clinch State Park in Fernandina Beach. Strangely enough, the day before, I was out water sampling and saw a similar water color in a water body in the state of in Georgia. And I sent it to both Georgia and Florida, and come to find out that it's iron. So there's a lot of iron in our soil, and when we get a lot of rainfall, it can be resuspended, and it can change the color of the water body. And so we definitely don't want to go and touch the water because of the high iron contamination. But once it settles back into the soil, it'll turn back to that tannic color that it should. But if you do see something of a water quality issue or what looks like a contamination, then definitely report it. We'll send it off to the appropriate state agency and try to get you an answer as soon as possible about what it could be, or try to get them to come out and actually do additional water sampling and then get you an answer. So our advocacy efforts, this is one of our other big pillars that we as a Riverkeeper are very proud of. One of the things that came out of last year's advocacy initiatives was the fact that we have sturgeon in the St. Mary's River, and not many people know that. So this sturgeon we caught. I was on the boat with Fish and Wildlife Service last June, and we caught this 2-year-old sturgeon. And sturgeon are home spawners. So they're just like turtles. They go to the same water body that they were born in. And so when you catch a juvenile that's 2-ish years old, 1 or 2 years old, you know that it was born in that water body, because at the age of 3, that's when they head out into the ocean. And they don't come back until they're ready to spawn, which can be anywhere between 3 and 7 years, depending on the gender of the sturgeon. So this was a pretty big deal. And so when I did this post, I actually went out on World Oceans Day, not by, it just happened to be that day. But I posted this picture on social media, and I got a lot of great comments of people saying, oh, I remember seeing sturgeon in the river when I was fishing 50 years ago. Look at this amazing picture, when you used to be able to harvest the sturgeon before they were endangered species, protected underneath the Endangered Species Act. So this picture by Ricky Beckham was sent to me on social media, and those are sturgeon that are the length of his truck bed. So that's the size of sturgeon that you could have found in the St. Mary's River decades ago. But now they believe that there's only 14 spawning age, genetically distinct St. Mary's River sturgeon left. So we really need to understand the habitat of this sturgeon to be able to protect those remaining 14. And so that we are actually working with a group of scientists from NOAA, from Fish and Wildlife Service, from the USGS, Georgia EPD, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Coalition, both UGA and University of Florida, to do a scientific study of the St. Mary's River to determine where are the spawning grounds for the sturgeon, because we don't know that. And when do they spawn? Because we also don't know that. We know where the teenagers hang out, the juveniles. They hang out around the 95 bridge. And then we're working with other nonprofit organizations like the Nature Conservancy to determine what can we do to understand how can we approach our counties in their upcoming resiliency planning to better protect the habitat of the sturgeon. There's a lot of development coming to the watershed, and so what can we do to ensure that that this habitat is protected for the sturgeon? We also do city, county, regional, and state advocacy work. So we go to the capitals, meet with legislators about key issues that impact the St. Mary's River. We work with our regional representatives. We work with our county commissioners, our city councilmen and women, our mayors, to ensure that we are partners to them. We want to make sure that our waterways are protected, and we want to make sure that the voice of the river and the waterways are at the table for many of these, especially shoreline developmental projects. So we just wanted to make sure that we have that partnership. And then we have our legislative priorities. So last year, Georgia and Florida had separate legislative priorities. So you only had to focus in on one state at a time, which made for a longer legislative session period. But now we're having to track both states at the same time. So it's a shorter time to have to do it, but you have to do twice as much work at the same time. So the Florida legislative session is January 9th through March 8th, and you can sign up for bill tracking if there are specific bills of interest. And then the Georgia legislative session started January 8th and runs through March 27th. And the AJC has a great legislative tracker that you can just put in the bill number, and it'll tell you where it is in its process. For your state elected officials, so these are not your U.S. elected officials, these are your state ones. Your House of Representatives, Nassau, you have Dean Black, and these are the committees that are most impactful for things that could come through for the St. Mary's River. Baker is Chuck Brannon. He's on other committees that don't have to really do with waterways protection and advocacy, but we do have a relationship with his staff, just in case. And then Camden County is Stephen Sains, and Charlton is John Corbett. For the Senate, Nassau County, you have Clay Yarborough. Baker is Jennifer Bradley. And Camden and Charlton, they're one senator. You have Mike Hodges. So these are the legislative priorities that our Water Policy Committee, which is our advocacy committee, have identified as good and bad bills to follow. And I have some updates on some of these just so y'all know where they are in process. For the Florida bills, House Bill 163, 165, 321, and 527 have all been introduced, but nothing has happened. They are not moving at this moment. And Senate Bill 338, 608, and 664 have also been introduced. So they have not moved. But we will keep y'all updated as things move. They can move really fast, and it's hard to. Some people don't like getting 2 newsletters in a week. So sometimes they move a little quicker than our newsletters can keep up with. But one great thing that has recently happened is House Bill 789 in Florida, which is the House Bill version of the Environmental Management Bill. This is the one that would restrict public access to the courts. So it was trying to say that if you are the losing party in a lawsuit for either against DEP or one of the water management districts, the losing party would then have to pay the fees, the attorney fees for the winning party, which would discourage a lot of smaller nonprofit advocacy groups such as Riverkeepers from taking litigation action when they felt that the water management districts or DEP were not doing what was appropriate. And so that would really limit what Riverkeepers are meant to do. Now, St. Mary's Riverkeeper has never been through a litigation process. However, we are a Riverkeeper, so it is always that possibility. But what happened was Monday, in the Water Quality Supply and Treatment Subcommittee meeting, the bill passed favorably. However, it was amended. And so it actually removed the wording to prevent for the losing party to actually have to pay the attorneys. And it added in the words, do not prohibit a person from bringing a cause of action to the court. So not only did they remove the bad part of it, but they included better language to protect the right of court for small groups that will do litigation. So it does not put the financial burden on the losing party. So that was a really great amendment. And then it passed favorably with that amendment. And we really want to give a big shout out to the Florida Springs Council. Their executive, Ryan Smart, has worked really hard in lobbying and getting these bills amended to have that section either removed or amended, as you just heard from the House Bill 789. So thank you, Florida Springs Council, for all your hard work on that. Senate Bill 602, which is the release of balloons. This would make you actually fined as a litterer, is moving favorably and is currently in its 3rd committee hearing. So once it passes through the Senate, it will move to the House for its approval through its 3 committees. And if the Senate and the House all agree on the same wording, then it goes to the governor for approval. Senate Bill 738, which is the Senate bill version of the environmental management bill that we just talked about, passed its first committee with no amendment. So they did not remove or edit as the House bill did. And now it's on its 2nd committee. So if the House bill and the Senate bill, if it passes through all 3 of their committees and they do not say the same thing, then they have to get together to reword it so it is the same thing and then present it to the governor for approval. On the Georgia side, There has been no action taken by any of the House bills that we have identified as good or bad bills. However, there is a lot of lobbying happening around House Bill 71, which is the Okefenokee Protection Act, which would protect Trail Ridge from future mining operations starting at a designated time. It would not influence any current mining permits that would or potentially could be permitted. And then to stop House Bill 370, which is a rollback of existing law known as the King or Crown Grant. The other one that we're monitoring, it's not a legislative bill yet, but it's defining what navigability is in the state of Georgia. And so at the moment, the study committee for that is putting forward that the term navigability be defined based on the 1860s definition when steamboats were going upriver. And not when rivers were full of kayakers and paddleboarders and small vessels and canoes for recreational purposes. And so if that were the case, if it passed and the 1860s rule was approved, that would mean that you could actually be prevented from passing along a section of a water body because the landowner prevents your right of passage because technically that's theirs and it's not state property. So we are advocating for that definition of the 1860s to not be included and it be edited so that way we can do these massive river floats and the Okie to Ocean paddle trail for recreational purposes. And for us as a smaller river that's narrow and shorter, it's a lot more impactful because those steamboats could only get so far up the St. Mary's River that most of the river would actually not be accessible if landowners that were next to the river could actually keep us from passing. So we are keeping an eye on that and working with our conservation groups in Georgia to try to get that wording amended. But we'll keep everybody updated with what's going on in that. But if anytime you wanted to get your bills tracked through the state of Florida, these are the ones we are tracking. Georgia does not, to my knowledge, have a tracking the same way Florida does, but I did find that AJC bill tracking page, which was really helpful. So shifting from advocacy efforts to ways to engage. So these are the volunteer opportunities we have. We have really prioritized engaging with volunteers this year. We have a very active board, but their time is limited. I'm a one-woman staff show, and so my time is obviously divvied up amongst all of these priorities we have. We're going through strategic planning, so we really need our community's support and time, treasure, and talent to be able to do the work that we need to do. And your engagement is important in ensuring that your voice is also part of the discussion of Riverkeeper. So that's why that strategic planning survey is also very important. We want to know what's important to you as a community member. So these are just some ways to volunteer. We do have several committees that our board has identified as like our pillars of what we need to do. So you can join our water policy committee to talk about advocacy. If your interest is in water quality, you can join our water quality committee. If your thing is event planning, please join our fund development committee. We need all the thoughts that we can get on how to do fund development for our events. We need the team to make it happen. If you came to our Low Country Boil last year, that was a lot of work. We need some more hands on deck to make that even better this year. So please apply your talents to serving as a committee member on one of our board committees. Be a watershed watchdog. Report things. If you don't think if it doesn't look right, take a picture, drop a pin, get a GPS coordinate, and send it in so we can report it to the right state regulatory agency to get looked at. Event planning, as I mentioned, tabling. We have tabling events that we stand at to talk to community members, get them involved, get them signed up to get our newsletters so that they have more of an understanding of what we do. Lend your expertise to a project. I had a volunteer that said, I'm really into GIS. I'm like, great, we need you, right? So we're undergoing a new water quality mapping system to report our water quality testing results. And he's got GIS experience. So let's engage him on getting our GIS program up and going. Strategic planning survey, river patrolling. If something's been reported on the river, I may call you up and say, hey, I need a boat. I've done it. So just be aware that if you offer, I'll take you up on it, even if it is a holiday weekend. But if there is something that's been reported, a spill, a bad smell, a big trash dump, and you have a boat and we need one, and you're willing to donate the fuel and your time, we'll take you up on it. So we need a river patrol program to be able to gain access to the river. And then participate in river cleanups. It's the most direct way to get involved and do a positive impact on your St. Mary's River. Our fundraising events. So we have 2 every year. So we do have our golf tournament. This is TBD at the moment. It is being hosted by White Oak Conservation. It might look a little different. We've hired a consultant to help us run the event for us. And then, of course, many of you know White Oak has undergone some renovations of their golf courses. So we don't really know our date yet. We don't really know what it looks like. We have tentative stuff in the works, but nothing concrete to really share with you. But if you do get our newsletters, you'll see it in our newsletters. And if you follow us on social media, you'll see it on our social media. We do have our Low Country Boil this year. It is going to be in October. We'll send out the save the dates in the next few months. And it's at the same location we had it last year at Sugar Point Estate. It was just such a beautiful place to have it right on the Bells River overlooking the St. Mary's River. So we're going to do it again there. And thanks to our partners with Sugar Point Estate for providing us the means to be able to do that. If you are interested in being a sponsor for that Low Country Boil, we are taking sponsorship donations at this time. So just let me know and I'll send you the link. And then what can you do today? Of course, thank you for participating for one. That's definitely something, is just learning about what's going on, how to get involved, understanding the issues, whether you're an advocacy person, you just want to go kayaking, or you just want to do a river cleanup. Any which way really positively impacts the future of our St. Mary's River and supports Riverkeeper and what we do at our core. Of course, we can't do it without your finances. So thank you for donating. And if you haven't, please feel free to give us a donation. Memberships that give us the opportunity to do what we do. And so for as little as $25, you really help us do our work. Follow us on social media. Again, I'm a one-woman staff show, so I can only handle 2 social medias at a time. So we're on Facebook and Instagram. And so I post rather frequently on those for updates. Share your love for your river and engage in the work. So come out on a boat tour, come out on a kayak trip, come see the St. Mary's River. It's hard to protect what you've never seen before. And once you see it, you're going to fall in love and want to protect it. Help spread the word. When public comments come open, whether you're a targeted, whether it's an open public comment for the state of Florida or for your small community in Georgia, we'll send targeted newsletters to get everyone activated. Feel free to share them with your neighbors and your friends around your area, so we have more voices at the table to express our concern or our support. Learn about issues and help get others involved. And then whenever you are on social media, be sure to tag us or do the hashtag St. Mary's Riverkeeper. So that is be the change. Every drop and every action counts. It makes a difference. Even the smallest little donation can make the largest change. And so for that, I'm going to say thank you. Here is the stakeholder survey code if you missed it in the slide before, and my contact information. Of course, it's all on our website as well. But feel free to contact me if you have any questions. But at this time, we'll take any questions you have. So just drop them in the Q&A. I haven't seen any pop up. But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll be happy to share it with you. Kim, do you have any last minute things to say while people are maybe typing?
Just thank you everyone for participating today. And we want to express our gratitude to Emily Floor for her leadership as our executive director of the St. Mary's Riverkeeper. She's doing a phenomenal job, and I know many of you agree and are excited about her leadership and the work that she is doing. It was a great presentation, Emily. I'm so pleased with what's happening with the St. Mary's Riverkeeper, and on behalf of the entire Board of Trustees who give generously and tirelessly and absolutely love the St. Mary's River and the St. Mary's Riverkeeper, we really would love to hear from you. So we are looking forward to engaging. We want you to complete the survey. We want to get your feedback, and we want to include that in our strategic planning and our plans for the future for the St. Mary's Riverkeeper. So thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And thank you, Dana. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions or comments in the Q&A or the chat. So thank you again, everybody, for participating. Again, sign up to get our newsletters. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for your engagement. As Kim said, your input's really valuable in what we do and redirecting us for our future, because that's really where we're going, is into our next chapter as an organization. So we'd really like to know what you have to say about that direction. But thank you so much for attending today. Again, we'll post this on social media or say that it's up on our website, and it'll be up on our website. And we're hoping that our next Lunch and Learn will be March or April with a different guest expert about something else of value that impacts the St. Mary's River. So thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.